Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Boys, it's time. Epic History TV video, or Epic History. They lost the TV. I'm very happy right now. Let's learn, guys. Ooh, new Brian Shaw video. Nice.
What's up, guys? Hope you all.
My name's Connor if you're new. I like to learn things. Original link to the video, top of the description. Epic History is my favorite history YouTube channel. Definitely. There are some other great ones. History March is great. Kings and Generals is great. Epic History is my favorite. Their videos are so amazing. Enough with the intro. Let's learn. Nelson's battles in 3D Trafalgar. Preemptive like. If you are not ready to learn, you're in the wrong class because we're learning here. Or sit in the back. That's fine. Let's do it, guys. Hope everyone's doing well.
An Epic History Drakenfell collaboration. In 1792, the French Revolution sparked a European conflict that would last a generation. A struggle for mastery of Europe and the world. A contest fought on land and sea. In this war of shifting alliances, the most enduring rivalry was between France and Britain. Britain could not challenge France on land, but at sea, it was a different matter. Britain's Royal Navy was as dominant on the waves as Napoleon was to prove on land. And in an age when Britain had many skilled naval commanders, one stood out above the rest.
Nelson.
Horatio Nelson. Bold, inspiring, and brilliant. For the British, he'd become a national hero and legend. These are the stories of his greatest battles.
Never mind maneuvers. Always go at them. Nelson to Captain Thomas Cochrane. Cochrane! Palermo in 1798. Is that the same Cochrane?
1805. The short peace between Britain and France has collapsed, and the two rivals are at war once more. Britain, Russia, and Austria have formed a new alliance, known as the Third Coalition. Napoleon renews the French alliance with Spain. The newly crowned Emperor of the French is determined to finally defeat Britain. The nation that bankrolls the alliances against him, decimates French overseas trade, and blockades her ports. He has assembled a large invasion force on the Channel coast. His battle-hardened troops will make short work of the British, if he can control the Channel long enough to land them safely.
There are two war objectives that pop up again and again, and that fail again and again. One of them is invading Russia, and the other is trying to cross the English Channel to invade Britain, and it never ends up well. Unless you're Julius Caesar 2,000 years ago.
The British Navy outclasses the French in number of ships and skill, but it cannot be everywhere at once. So Napoleon will use one of his favorite military principles,
divide.
Concentration of force, to secure temporary dominance at the decisive point. French and Spanish squadrons, scattered in numerous ports, will be brought together to form a giant combined fleet to take on the British. The Emperor gives command of the first phase of this mission to Admiral Pierre Villeneuve. Villeneuve had joined the Navy as a 14-year-old trainee officer and seen service in the American War of Independence.
Hey.
A supporter of the French Revolution, he was one of the few aristocratic officers to remain in naval service and was promoted to Rear Admiral. In 1798, he commanded the 80-gun Guillaume Tell at the Battle of the Nile. His was one of the few ships to escape that disaster. He was later captured when Malta fell to the British, but was released when peace was declared. In 1804, the commander of the French Mediterranean fleet dies of a heart attack, and Villeneuve replaces him with the rank of Vice Admiral. In temperament, Villeneuve could not be more unlike Nelson. In 1805, he writes to the Minister of the Navy, "You will be so good as to recall that I have not asked for command of this squadron. What is more, I have always sought a practical and useful career, as opposed to one filled with glory." On the 30th of March, 1805, following the Emperor's orders, Admiral Villeneuve sails from Toulon with 11 ships of the line.
So it seems like he's a commander who was, ended up at the role and just doesn't want to mess up, rather than being this kind of hawkish admiral who's saying that aggressive maneuvers are just in pursuit of glory, I think, is a little simplistic. Sometimes it's just a good strategy.
Slips past Nelson's blockading force and joins up with 6 Spanish ships and a further French ship off Cadiz. Now with 18 ships, Villeneuve sets off on a 5-week crossing of the Atlantic. On arrival in the French West Indies, he links up with another 2 French ships under Rear Admiral Magon. The British, meanwhile, are in disarray. When Nelson lost track of Villeneuve, he guessed the French were heading back to Egypt and raced off in pursuit. He reaches Alexandria before he realizes his mistake. So he doubles back and sets course for the West Indies, a full month behind Villeneuve. Nelson makes the crossing in just 4 weeks, but misses Villeneuve by a matter of days, who sails back to Europe on the 8th of June.
Wow, so that actually was pretty consequential. If he, there's no way he could have known, but if he just went for the West Indies, he probably would have caught him.
Matter of days.
Crazy how many little twists of fate happen, that like one little change seemingly could have changed history so much, and that seems like one of them.
4 weeks, but misses Villeneuve by a matter of days, who sails back to Europe on the 8th of June. But then,
so the way that ships cross the Atlantic isn't just a coincidence, right? Like, when you go from Europe to the Americas, they usually go south and then over. And when you go from the Americas back to Europe, you usually go up and over. And that's because of the kind of North Atlantic current that runs clockwise, right?
for the British. But then, a lucky break for the British. Nelson sends a fast-sailing ship to carry his reports back to England. And by sheer good chance, it spots Villeneuve's fleet in the Atlantic.
Oh, battling in the middle of the Atlantic is going to be so freaking... I mean, because even if you survive, but you're stranded, I mean, you're screwed. What do you do?
Their course is not back to the Med, as Nelson had assumed, but more northerly, towards the Channel. Vice Admiral Calder, with 15 ships of the line, is put on high alert, and on the 22nd of July, he intercepts Villeneuve off Cape Finisterre. In confused fighting, in heavy fog, the British capture 2 Spanish ships. But Calder fails to prevent Villeneuve reaching the Spanish port of Ferrol. The French admiral then makes a fateful decision. His orders are clear: proceed to Brest and then on to the Channel. But reports of ships to the north persuade him that he is about to be attacked by Britain's powerful Channel fleet. His ships, battered by Atlantic gales and battle, cannot fight again.
Hold on.
Makes a fateful decision. His orders are clear. Proceed to Brest and then on to the Channel. But reports of ships to the north persuade him that he is about to be attacked by Britain's powerful Channel fleet. His ships, battered by Atlantic gales and battle, cannot fight again without repairs. So he retreats to Cadiz. Here he is soon blockaded.
I'm really curious as to what most of those repairs are from just general wear and tear on the ship. Do you have to, like, are there certain leaks that you're pumping out that you have to repair? Are the guns just not capable at the moment? I mean, you don't have a car dashboard light telling you what's wrong. So
retreats to Cadiz. Here he is soon blockaded by a growing number of British ships. Napoleon is furious when he receives this news. Villeneuve does not possess the strength of character to command a frigate, he tells the naval minister. It is nearly autumn.
Oh, isn't that kind of your fault for not properly assessing whether or not he'd be a good commander? You know?
And a cross-channel invasion is now impossible.
Or am I wrong?
Villeneuve has failed him, and Napoleon must look for other ways to defeat the British.
If Admiral Villeneuve had sailed for Brest, my army would have landed. It would have been all over with England. Napoleon, 8th September.
In late August, Napoleon's troops break camp at Boulogne and march off to face the Austrians and Russians on the Danube.
Anyone with more knowledge, do you think that was true? That seems like a stretch.
In the meantime, he sends orders to Admiral Villeneuve to sail into the Mediterranean, where he is to support French operations in Italy. But his Franco-Spanish combined fleet is not in good...
Sorry, I just wanted to read that. Kingdom of Etruria. Sorry.
But his Franco-Spanish combined fleet is not in good shape. It is short of supplies and men, and blockaded by a powerful British force, now commanded by Admiral Nelson. Villeneuve decides to stay put. But when Napoleon informs him that he is being replaced as commander, the French admiral is finally stung into action. On the 18th of October 1805, he orders the Franco-Spanish fleet to put to sea. Admiral Villeneuve's combined fleet consists of 33 ships of the line.
Man, if you knew that as a British officer or a British admiral, if you knew that this would be such an advantage, I'd imagine. If you knew that Villeneuve, I keep hearing his name and then mispronouncing it. If King Villeneuve, this king, if you knew as the British prior to engaging them that their admiral just received word that he would be replaced because of his complacency, then you would know that he's going to be super aggressive, and then you could use that against him.
18 French and 15 Spanish. Admiral Villeneuve's flagship is the 80-gun Bucentaure. The Spanish contingent is led by Admiral Gravina aboard Príncipe de Asturias of 112 guns. Nelson had been waiting for the enemy with 34 ships of the line, but has just had
136 guns. Santissima Trinidad, 136.
Had to send 6 for the enemy with 34 ships of the line, but has just had to send 6 to Gibraltar for resupply and refit. Vice Admiral Calder, aboard HMS Prince of Wales, is sent home to face a court-martial for his lackluster performance at Cape Finisterre. So Nelson's now slightly outnumbered, 27 ships against 33, though he has 3 powerful first-rates, his own flagship Victory, Britannia, and Vice Admiral Collingwood's Royal Sovereign.
So on paper, clearly a disadvantage. I'm not sure if more figures are going to be added here, but in order to gauge a true advantage or disadvantage, you have to take into account the professionalism of British crews. I have hindsight. I know Britain is successful at the Battle of Trafalgar, of course, famous battle. But in order to gauge like a likely to win, you have to take into account the professionalism of British fleets.
Both fleets are accompanied by several frigates for scouting and relaying messages. On paper, the Royal Navy is heavily outgunned. But the British know they can rely on superior seamanship and faster gunnery to even the odds.
Hold on. Guys, I thought of this when looking at all these holes. Would it be better to put as many stitches throughout the sail, like at intervals of like 4 inches or so, along the whole thing, so that if a musket ball or a cannonball hits the canvas, it doesn't split along a giant proportion? Because if you have stitches along and you know, laterally and vertically, horizontally and vertically, then if they're hit, the structural integrity of the whole sail won't be compromised. And so they must do that. But I wonder at what intervals they stitch through the sail to avoid unnecessary tearing. Does that make sense?
On paper, the Royal Navy is heavily outgunned. But the British know they can rely on superior seamanship and faster gunnery to even the odds.
Ships are so cool.
After 8 weeks in Cadiz, Villeneuve is finally back at sea. But he's given his own captains little warning of their sudden departure and has set sail in unfavourable light winds. As they crawl south along the Spanish coast, they are spotted by British frigates. They relay news of the enemy's departure to Nelson and the British fleet, patrolling 40 miles offshore. Nelson immediately sets course to intercept. On the morning of the 21st of October, Villeneuve's fleet is about 10 miles northwest of Cape Trafalgar, bound for the Straits of Gibraltar. When the British fleet is spotted closing in from the northwest, Villeneuve faces a dilemma. He considers running for the Mediterranean or facing the British in battle.
And he knows that his complacency is getting him removed, and so I'm assuming that's the reason why.
But ultimately, he orders the fleet to reverse course and sail back to Cadiz. This abrupt change in course, combined with light winds and many inexperienced crews, causes the combined fleet's formation to become extremely ragged. It now forms...
Guys, I went to sailing camp when I was younger, when I was probably around middle school. So how old are you in middle school? 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And I like seeing all of these very small sailboats kind of spread, like unorganizingly, I don't know if that's a word, sailing around each other, and imagining giant ships in that same manner would be a sight to see.
Rough crescent, stretching over 5 miles, extremely ragged. It now forms a rough crescent, stretching over 5 miles of sea. Psychologically and tactically, Villeneuve's fleet is already on the back foot.
Depending how close the British fleet is, it could be okay.
The contrast with the British fleet
Just
could
organized.
not be starker.
Man, the British, dude. The British obviously the French are amazing on land. The British, when it comes to the sea, is just so freaking cool.
Crews are eager
Just like, they're disorganized, just robotically marching forward with perfect orders.
for battle, and he has devised a bold plan to ensure a decisive action.
What I would give to be able to just be a ghost, I don't want to actually be there in the fighting, but to just be a ghost on one of the main ships and just watching the crewmen and the shouting of orders from the captain and how it all comes together would make me so happy. When I came to explain to them the Nelson touch, it was like an electric shock. Vice Admiral Nelson, letter to Lady Hamilton, 1st of October, 1805.
By 11 a.m., the British fleet is formed up for battle and closing with Villeneuve as fast as the light breeze will allow. Nelson had decided on a basic plan of attack weeks earlier. The orthodox tactic at this time would be to line up his fleet alongside the enemy and trade broadsides with them.
He goes into him like a T, right?
But Nelson believes these methods too often lead to an indecisive outcome.
And that might lead to their benefit being already incredibly unorganized. At least knowing that they're coming on broadside would give you a chance just to shoot at them. But you could just throw them even more off by going right at them. Voice crack. What do I know? I'm just talking out. I'm thinking out loud.
Too often lead to an indecisive outcome. Instead, he has decided on the bold but not unprecedented tactic of attacking in two columns. These will pierce the enemy line and split their fleet into sections to be overwhelmed and defeated in close action.
What about friendly
the
fire?
enemy's vanguard can double back to help. The major drawback is that during the approach, the lead British ships of each column will come under heavy fire, while being completely unable to fight back. Naturally, Nelson decides he himself will lead one column aboard HMS Victory.
So, why don't they have forward-facing guns? Is it just impractical and would also maybe slow the ship down from the recoil?
The other will be led by Vice Admiral Collingwood aboard HMS Royal Sovereign. As the British ships begin their approach, Nelson asks that a signal be sent to the fleet. England confides that every man will do his duty. For ease of signalling, it becomes, England expects that every man will do his duty. Light winds mean the two British columns creep forward at around 3 knots, not much more than walking speed. The lead British ships will be under fire for a tense 45 minutes before they reach the enemy line.
Wow.
The gunfire starts at noon, with the French 74...
I can just imagine all of the things going on, like from the people getting ready to fire to the captains looking ahead and the people getting ready with the sails, however you got to maneuver them. Also to the any surgeons or medical people on board getting their stuff ready for inevitable casualties.
Fuga.
It's got to be such a strategic chaos. I don't know what to say.
Firing rainfire starts at noon, with the French 74 Fuga firing ranging shots towards Royal Sovereign. Gradually, gunfire from the combined fleet builds to a steady thunder.
If they hit the water, does it skip and keep going?
The French and Spanish gun crews lack practice, and their ships are side on to the wind, increasing the roll. So most of their shots miss their mark. A new signal flies up Victory's mizzenmast. Engage the enemy more closely. It will remain there until...
So you have someone on each of the ships looking with the telescope at any changes in flags of the head ship. And I wonder if the headship falls, does the responsibility of signaling switch to a different ship that they all know? I'm really curious, fascinated by any communication tactics they have
closely
and redundancies.
It will remain there until later shot away. As the range closes, the French and Spanish gunners begin to land more and more shots on target. The sails of HMS Victory and Royal Sovereign are peppered by round shot. Spars are knocked down. Victory's ship's wheel is hit and destroyed. Casualties steadily mount. Twice, British ships try to overtake Victory to protect Nelson, but he orders them back into position. Nelson intends to break the enemy line at Villeneuve's flagship, the Bucentaure. Targeting the enemy commander is part of his ruthless approach. But the enemy's ragged formation and a lack of identifying pennants means he has to guess which is Villeneuve's flagship.
Interesting.
Fortunately, he guesses right, and around 12:30, HMS Victory is poised to break the line just astern of Bucentaure. But it's Collingwood's fast-sailing Royal Sovereign to the south that will break the line first. The British have held their fire during their long approach. They've been under
locked
attack
and
for
loaded.
half an hour with no way to fight back.
So imagine these giant two-way shotguns just loaded, completely loaded, and haven't fired yet, just slowly floating towards you. And right when they get in range, just pow.
That's about to change.
Jeez, my freaking eyes.
Every British
Dry.
gun is double-shotted, loaded with 2 rounds.
Jesus.
Now, as HMS Royal Sovereign passes the Spanish first-rate Santa Ana, she fires a massive, raking broadside into her stern.
Oh, and I wonder how far that can travel through the ship when it's firing directly at its bow.
Several minutes later, HMS Victory passes astern of Bucentaure.
Or
She
stern, I
delivers a
meant.
devastating broadside that cripples Villeneuve's flagship and kills or injures almost half its crew. Despite these 2 powerful blows, the lead British ships are, for the moment, hugely outnumbered and in real danger. Collingwood's Royal Sovereign is under fire from all directions. The second ship of his column, HMS Belle-Isle, has been completely demasted. HMS Mars is also taking punishing fire. HMS Victory has got tangled up with Redoutable, which has a strong complement of French Marines. In intense, close-quarters fighting, the isolated British vanguard must hang on until the rest of their ships can join the action.
No captain can do every wrong if he places his ship. No captain can do very wrong if he places his ship alongside that of an enemy. Vice Admiral Nelson. I can't
After
read.
20 precarious minutes, British ships are arriving, one by one, to join the battle.
Wait, no captain can do very wrong if he places his ship alongside that. So, like, if you get alongside, just shoot.
They pile into the disordered enemy formation, unleashing double-shotted broadsides to devastating effect. Victory now receives much-needed support from Téméraire. As successive British ships enter the fray, a mass brawl develops. It's exactly what Nelson wants, the enemy unable to escape and pummeled at close range. Meanwhile, Admiral Dumanoir's Franco-Spanish vanguard has begun an agonizingly slow turn to try to rejoin the battle. But it will be more than an hour before they're in position.
Imagine now battles in really strong winds where you're... That's the thing when it comes to to naval battles as opposed to land battles. I feel like the weather changes everything. Well, it also does in land battles too, actually. I suppose.
HMS Africa, a 64-gun third rate, had earlier become separated from the British fleet. Her captain, Henry Digby, now deliberately misinterprets Nelson's order to withdraw to safety. Instead, he charges straight into the battle from the north. HMS Africa sails alone past the entire enemy vanguard, trading broadsides all the way. Then she joins the attack on the giant Santissima Trinidad of 136 guns. Victory and Redoutable are now locked in a brutal, close-quarters slugging match.
Wait, what was his name?
Vanguard. He charges, interprets Nelson's. Her captain, Henry Digby.
Henry Digby. I gotta remember that.
130 close-quarters slugging match.
Henry Digby.
British guns smash the French hull to splinters, while Redoutable's crew assemble on deck to board Victory. At this crucial moment, HMS Temeraire appears on Redoutable's starboard side and blasts her deck with grape shot. The French boarding party is mown down. All three ships become locked together and drift into another French ship, Fougue. Some French and Spanish ships, like Admiral Magon's Algeciras, have used their time in port to train their crews for boarding and close-quarter combat. It makes them dangerous foes in close action. But time and again, just as a French or Spanish ship forms a boarding party, a British ship emerges through the smoke to sweep their deck with grape shot. Superior British gunnery is slowly grinding down the enemy. One by one, the first French and Spanish ships haul down their colours as a sign of their surrender. At the height of the battle, a French sniper, perched high on Redoutable's mizzenmast, spots the British commander on the quarterdeck of HMS Victory. Nelson is easily distinguished by his bright decorations, which, against advice, he has refused to remove. Now, he is struck by a single musket ball, which plunges into his shoulder and down through his spine.
I didn't know the shot that killed Nelson was an intentional shot for him. That's crazy.
They finally succeeded, Nelson exclaims. I am dead. He is carried below for medical treatment, where he's brought frequent reports on the progress of the battle. It is now 3 hours since battle was joined. To the south, the French 74 Achille, under fire from multiple ships, has caught fire. While to the north, Dumanoir's vanguard is finally in position to join the battle.
One sec, guys. Be right back. Okay. Sorry. Back. Sorry. Let's go.
But only Intrépide makes a determined attack. The other ships fire a few in position to join the battle. But only Intrépide makes a determined attack. The other ships fire a few ineffective long-range shots, then veer away rather than engage the British in close action. One captured Spanish crew, witnessing this conduct, is so enraged that they offer to open fire on their supposed allies.
Wow.
But the French ships soon slip out of range.
That's a big difference in what I mean. You have to take into account to decide the likely outcome of a battle is taking into account these other than just numbers, is that, what was his name? Henry. Is that, and I don't blame them. I mean, you're both French and Spanish, so there's going to be a little bit of miscommunication, and you aren't as skilled at maritime warfare as the British, whereas you have these British confident ships going in, even despite orders to not do it. It just throws the likelihood of victory way out of whack. I explained that terribly.
But the French ships soon slip out of range. They can see that Villeneuve's fleet is beaten. More than a dozen French and Spanish ships have now surrendered. Those that can are escaping. The news reaches Nelson, who hovers between life and death on the orlop deck of HMS Victory. He knows the end is near. He whispers to his old friend and comrade, Captain Hardy, "Take care of my dear Lady Hamilton, and then kiss me, Hardy." A few moments pass. "Thank God I have done my duty," Nelson murmurs, and dies soon after.
Full body chills tingling right now. My God.
Around 6 p.m. at the southern edge of the battle, the fires aboard Achille reach her grand magazine. The ship...
I wasn't ready for that. Just want to say. Like, thinking about people who are so revered and powerful like Nelson, when you... Like, I would want to live in that but in that, you know, with that fame and everything. But the fact that you're so devoted to the victory is
obliterated
crazy.
In an enormous explosion that kills half her crew instantly. This spectacular, bloody event proves the final act of a battle that has claimed 5,000 lives. And it is now clear that it has been a total and decisive British victory. Of the 33 French and Spanish ships under Villeneuve's command, 17 have been captured and 1 destroyed. And though several British ships are badly damaged, none have been lost. The casualties are similarly one-sided.
Wow.
Admiral Villeneuve is among several thousand prisoners taken by the British. He is allowed to return to France, but 6 months later he is dead. By suicide or murder remains unclear. The Spanish commander, Admiral Gravina, escapes the battle, but dies of his wounds 6 months later. While for the British, victory is tainted by the loss of their own brilliant, talismanic commander.
What Nelson had, he did not acquire. It was a gift from nature. Napoleon on St. Helena. Wow.
As he lay dying, Nelson's last order to the fleet had been to drop anchor, fearing bad weather. He was not wrong.
To die, it's such a special human. To die, know you're dying, and still give those more mundane orders is so admirable.
A ferocious Atlantic storm soon develops, battering the victorious fleet and its many prizes. The gales howl for days, causing chaos and scattering battle-damaged ships across miles of ocean. The French and Spanish take advantage, trying to retake some of their captured ships. French frigates recapture the Spanish first-rate Santa Ana. 4 captured crews rise up against their British captors and retake their own ships.
Wow.
but 3 of these are driven ashore and wrecked. Despite immense efforts, the British save only 4 of their 17 captured prizes. The rest are burned or lost to the storm, which probably claims more French and Spanish lives than the battle itself.
Wow.
For the French, there seems no end to the bad news. 2 weeks later, Admiral Dumanoir and his 4 French ships which had escaped the battle are intercepted by Captain Strachan's squadron off Cape Ortegal. All 4 French ships are captured. For the British, it caps a remarkable fortnight of naval triumphs.
We do not know whether we should mourn or rejoice. The country has gained the most splendid and decisive victory, but it has been dearly purchased. The Times newspaper, 7th November, 1805.
Admiral Nelson's body is returned to England aboard HMS Victory, preserved in a cask of brandy, lashed to the mainmast. He becomes the first non-royal to receive a state funeral in Britain since the Duke of Marlborough, 83 years earlier. For 3 days, his body lies in state in the Painted Hall of Greenwich Hospital, where it is visited by thousands. Then he is moved by river to St. Paul's Cathedral, where the funeral procession includes 32 admirals, 189 carriages, and thousands of troops.
Can you imagine this happening nowadays? I mean, I guess there hasn't been as extensive a war as the Napoleonic Wars until maybe the First and Second World War. But to have this reverence for a military leader, part of me is like, should I really be upset we don't have that? Because that would mean that we're more military focused, and that's not necessarily a good thing. But a large part of me does, there's something about that just really hits me. In just an entire society around a military leader, just a different time. And me, I do feel like me being a little sad that we don't have that means that I would wish for larger wars. So it's a little awkward. But I won't lie about the feeling I'm having right now. So that's the feeling I'm having. Just incredible.
Nelson's coffin, made of timbers from the French warship L'Orient, is placed in a sarcophagus in the cathedral crypt. News of Trafalgar takes 4 weeks to reach Napoleon near Vienna. He is en route to his own great victory over the Russians and Austrians at Austerlitz. But of the 2 famous battles of 1805, Trafalgar will have far greater consequences. The Battle of Trafalgar is one of the most crushing victories in naval history.
Probably the most famous battle in naval history.
Britain from invasion. That danger had already passed. But the sheer scale of victory ensured British supremacy at sea was unchallenged for the remaining 10 years of the Napoleonic Wars. Napoleon had to look for other means to defeat the British, a path that would lead him into grave errors and pave the way for his own eventual defeat. For Britain, the naval dominance secured at Trafalgar would underpin her imperial power throughout the 19th century, an age she dominated as the world's leading global empire. The Royal Navy would not face a serious challenge at sea
World War I?
until the Battle of Jutland, more than a century later. Right now, do you think AI is improving the quality of videos you're seeing?
So I do have a lot of things to say, guys, but I think I should wait till at least after the promo codes are given. I'll try and have the best of both worlds here. Fantastic video. Number one. Not that I'm surprised. Another thing is, particularly towards the end, the past like 3 minutes, it seems as if, like, Epic History is portraying it, maybe I'm taking it the wrong way, as like an upset, which it was not. It was not an upset. And it was the end of a battle that I'd imagine you would expect. Let me know if I'm wrong there, guys. But clearly, regardless of if the British were expected to win, it is undoubtedly the moment where it's like Britain rules the waves, unquestionably. The sea belongs to Britain, and there is no shot you can invade Britain now. By the way, just as Napoleon is the king of the land, I hope if people not from Britain are watching me do this, think that I have some bias towards Britain. I've been learning a lot of British history, and so I do have a soft spot, a sort of kind of fan view sometimes of some British figures. But I don't want to make it seem like I don't want to take sides in a historical conflict, even though I sometimes do. Napoleon and the French are fantastic on land, okay? Just as dominant as the British are at sea. So in the same way that I admire a lot of the British ships, even sometimes when it's against their own commands, going in confidently and carrying out their duty, I feel the same way when it comes to land battles with Napoleon's armies and the French armies. Same thing. So I'm going to have some more things to say, but just in case you don't want to watch through here, I'm going to watch through the ad. It is Epic History's video, so make sure to use any promo codes and links if you're interested.
Online, or the opposite. Perhaps like us, you've seen a flood of new documentaries with derivative scripts, robotic narration, and wildly inaccurate imagery.
I don't mind the imagery as much as I mind the voice. I don't like the AI voice. That standard AI voice. I guess if you have your own style and you keep reusing it, it's fine.
At Epic History, we always have used and promise to continue using a skilled team of humans to ensure everything we create is reliable and
Toby
authentic.
James, Harry
From
Charles.
Research to scripts, animation, and they've promised me
Nice job,
narration.
guys.
So if you're tired of sifting through
Is that the narrator?
dodgy AI narration.
Hey, so this is his voice?
So if you're tired of sifting through dodgy AI-generated content just to find something worth watching, then perhaps it's time to head over to prestige streaming service Nebula, where you'll only find high-quality, human-made videos. There are hundreds of great creators on Nebula across all genres, so whatever your interests, you're guaranteed to find something you'll love. From original movies and entertainment series, to documentaries covering everything from science and technology, to travel, true crime, and of course, history. The History homepage shows just how much Nebula has to offer, including Nebula Originals, only available to subscribers. If you like our channel, we're sure you'll also love Real-Time History's brilliant catalogue of military history documentaries, with recent episodes on Desert Storm, the Vietnam War,
U-boats.
and their brand new video, U-Boats Unleashed, the Battle of the Atlantic 1940. And just like our videos, they're all available to Nebula subscribers first and ad-free. Nebula is a streaming service built by creators to offer a superior experience to other video platforms. Right now, it's the most interesting, fastest-growing independent video platform on the internet. And because Nebula fairly rewards its creators, your sign-up actively supports channels like ours as we work hard to create ever more ambitious history content. Plus, we've got a great discount for Epic History viewers.
Make sure, please, guys, to use /Epic History if you learned it from watching me react to this video, okay? Just, if you're interested in it and you learned it here, make sure to use the /Epic History, please, please.
The link in our video description gets you 40% off Nebula's annual plan. That's just $36 a year, or $3 a month.
Regardless of the
Even
40%
better, the
discount,
Nebula
it's just the
Lifetime
right thing to
plan
do.
offers lifetime access, no strings, for $300, and helps Nebula to fund more of its original creator-owned series. Thanks to all our existing Nebula subscribers. And for everyone else watching, we hope to see you there soon. Big thanks to Drakenifel for expert research and advice throughout our series on Nelson's battles. For anyone with an interest in naval history, his own YouTube channel is essential viewing, packed with profiles of historic warships and expert discussion of naval technology and operations.
I would like to see that. Yeah, actually.
To Jack Fine Art and the estate of Derek Gardner for permission to use his painting of the battle in this video. You can view more of his fantastic paintings online using the link in the video description.
Guys, this made me crack up. Wiggle Puppy. 300 IQ move from Villeneuve. If there's no fleet to command, he can't be replaced. That's not where my mind went, but that's hilarious. Shout out to Charles Nova. Something about the way he narrates these videos captivates me like no one else can. Absolutely true. Freaking can't agree more. What's that guy's? Cuthbert? Cubert? Is Henry Cubert? Is that the one? Fantastic. I mean, I didn't expect anything less from Epic History. Fantastic channel. I love y'all. Hope you guys are all doing well. I really mean that. If you're still here, hi guys. Hope you're doing well. Would appreciate any comments down below. As always, you guys are great with that. If I said anything that was wrong, or if you can answer our questions, anything is appreciated. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time, next video reaction. We'll keep on learning together. Bye guys.